Maximals. Who knew?
Maximals.
They are also more than meets the eye. They are gorillas, but also robots.
Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, the 6th movie with Transformers in the title, the 7th of the series, if you count Bumblebee, which of course you should because it is canonical.
It's a lot. It's a lot of robots turning into trucks and then turning back into robots again. And a lot of you folks feel very strongly about this, which is exciting because it's summer. And this is the kind of thing that folks get pumped about. Yes, Transformers, Rise of the Beasts. If you've not subscribed yet, we'd love to have you because, yeah, we'll get in there and get down and dirty with Optimus Prime now and again. We're not afraid to. We're fun.
We cover the waterfront.
We'll do our obscure Romanian films, but we also have, Pete Davidson as a Porsche. Anyway, so hit the button if you have not already.
Wow, that was corny when I said it out loud.
It's kind of a sequel to Bumblebee and kind of a prequel to the Michael Bay movies that began in 2007. It's sort of in between. It's like a bridge. It takes place in 1994. There's a doohickey MacGuffin thing that is the key to everything. It's a portal for all of the Autobots at all, but it's also like the key to destruction for more nefarious talking cars who have dastardly plans. This incorporates a lot of the Beast Wars TV show, which I gotta admit, I never even knew existed prior to seeing this movie. But I've learned so much. Maximals. Who knew?
Maximals.
They are also more than meets the eye. They are gorillas, but also robots, and birds, but also robots. Begins a long time ago. There's this thing. It's important. It gets hidden because it can mean the death of everything. Cut to 1994. Anthony Ramos is living in Brooklyn. He is a former military electronics expert, but he can't get a job to support his family. It is like pre-Giuliani, grungy New York. There's graffiti everywhere on the subway. That's how you know. And meanwhile, over on Ellis Island, you have Dominique Fishback. She plays a young, up-and-coming, aspiring artifacts expert. She's very ambitious, very knowledgeable. But what happens with both these people, and here's where I think this movie has some substance, is they are both young people of color being marginalized and underestimated by the white powers that be. Mm-hmm. Boom! Subtext, substance in your Transformers movie. If you're looking for it, it is there. But they both end up caught in the battle between the bad Transformers led by Peter Dinklage as Scourge, doing the bidding of Unicron, which my autocorrect kept wanting to change to unicorn in my review.
The evil unicorn that wants to destroy the planet. Voiced by Colman Domingo. Why not?
It's a planet that eats other planets, but it's got a horn sticking out of its head. Yes, and Colman Domingo is the voice of that. And so the Autobots have to get the pieces together to go to the place and do the thing. And you have these two people in the middle of it who are trapped in this battle. A lot is good about this movie. Started with the fact that Michael Bay did not direct it. Boom. Steven Caple Jr., who directed Creed 2, directed it. Okay. And so you can actually see what's happening when all these giant, big, noisy, shiny things are crashing into each other. There's actual visual coherence to the action sequences for the most part. The big climax gets a little visually noisy, but for the most part, like Pete Davidson as Mirage, who is a Porsche in disguise. The intimate, small special effects stuff with him in particular is really cool. And Pete Davidson is really good in this. Maybe it's Pete Davidson's best work ever as a talking car.
Might be.
And the banter between him and Anthony Ramos is a lot of fun. And just Anthony Ramos and Dominique Fishback are both really likable. And they actually are human beings, with dreams and families. And they're not just there to spew the kind of inane banter that you usually get in these kinds of movies. Again, it's still a dumb movie about robots from space, crashing into each other, but it is better than I would have expected. And I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah, I was kind of stunned because, look, the idea of a movie that's robots punching other robots, sure, on paper, that sounds great. I'm totally in for that. But you're right. The Transformers movies were so hard to parse out just the visual mess of what was going on. This movie, I mostly agree with you. Yes, the action sequences are a lot more coherent. When one robot is fighting another robot, you can tell what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
When 50 robots are fighting 50 robots,
Yeah.
then it's like...
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree that the leads bring a lot to this. The characters that they're given to play are interesting. They are... I think more successfully integrated into the action. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like them sort of standing in the back and yelling while the robots do all the work. Like they're actually in it and getting involved with stuff. The fact that a lot of this movie is set in the mountains of Peru, where the doohickey is hidden in like these ancient underground temples, is kind of cool, because so many of these movies are like in these big cities, and they are not particularly interesting backdrops for a bunch of metal robots against metal skyscrapers. Only takes you so far. But metal robots in the middle of a forest is like, oh, okay, we haven't really seen that as much. This movie isn't great, but it is, I think, a real step forward for the series in general. It's the best movie with Transformers in the title. I still think Bumblebee's probably the best of the whole franchise. I wonder, though, if we're going to get canonical. I'm not going to spoil it, but this movie does set up what would appear to be a whole different franchise.
There's a mid-credit scene.
Yes. And so I'm wondering if this is going to be a separate timeline than the Bay movies were, which fine. Like I think it is. I think it clearly is. Those never happened. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think it has to be based on like things that happened here.
Yeah.
And then also kind of depletes it of some of its stakes, because that they're all going to go on to be in the next 5 movies. So it's it's not like Optimus Prime's not going to die.
Sure. Well, no, doesn't he always die and come back? Like he is the Jesus of this franchise. I wasn't worried about the stakes, because we all know that the good will triumph in these movies anyway.
Yeah. It's a really impressive voice cast too.
Yeah.
And besides, of course, you have Peter Cullen returning as always with the gravitas of being Optimus Prime. But and then of course we know Peter Dinklage, Michelle Yeoh is in this, and she's very good. Ron Perlman is in this. So it's an impressive voice cast in that way. It just that kind of like
MJ Rodriguez,
Cristo Fernandez. I did not hear what you said. Is essentially like he's Danny Rojas,
but a van, yes,
but a 1970s Volkswagen bus. But it's good to see him.
Yeah, or hear him anyway. Yeah, no, MJ Rodriguez was a cast member from Pose and also voices one of the robots here. Yeah, no, absolutely. This feels like a concerted effort to sort of redirect this franchise and what it did before. And and I think The Leads of Color is no accident in that regard. This is the movie that gave us what's his face from Sing Street with the laminated card in his pocket explaining why he was not a statutory rapist. Like, I think they're really trying to like make these movies a little different, than the Bay versions were. And so, yeah, more power to them. I didn't hate this, and I would actually like to see where they take this version of the Transformers story.
Okay, so what's your number?
I would say a 6.8.
I would say like a 6.3, 6.4, somewhere in there. Yeah, like of the big movies that are coming out right about now, I like this better than The Flash.
Yeah.
Right? Never thought I'd say that.
On board with you there.